Sarah loved to hike. Every summer she visited her family's cabin by the woods. The woods were like her playground. She knew every path, every turn, or so she thought. This afternoon the sun was warm, a perfect day for a hike. Sarah grabbed her backpack, laced up her boots and headed into the familiar woods. The air was still, almost too quiet. But Sarah didn't mind. She loved the peacefulness of the woods. She took a deep breath of the fresh air. The scent of pine needles filled her lungs. A wave of happiness washed over her. This was her happy place. As Sarah hiked deeper into the woods, she noticed something strange. The woods were eerily quiet. The usual sounds of birds chirping and squirrels chattering were gone. It was as if the woods were holding their breath. She stopped for a moment, listening. The silence was unnerving. It felt heavy, oppressive, like a weight on her chest. A shiver ran down her spine. She told herself it was just her imagination. She continued on, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The woods seemed different today somehow, darker, more menacing. Sarah rounded a bend in the path and stopped. There, branching off the main trail, was a smaller path she had never seen before. It was narrow and overgrown, almost completely hidden by the thick undergrowth. Curiosity piqued, Sarah hesitated for a moment. She knew she shouldn't stray from the main path, but something about the hidden path called to her. It was like the woods were inviting her in, daring her to discover their secrets. Taking a deep breath, Sarah decided to explore. She told herself she would just go a little way, just far enough to see where the path led. As Sarah ventured deeper into the woods, the trees seemed to close in around her. The path became narrower, the undergrowth thicker. The air grew heavy and still, the silence even more profound. It was like stepping into another world. The sunlight, once dappled and bright, was now almost completely blocked by the dense canopy of leaves overhead. The air grew colder, damper, and the forest floor was littered with decaying leaves and fallen branches. Sarah started to feel uneasy. She had a growing sense of foreboding, a feeling that she shouldn't be here. But she continued on, drawn deeper into the woods by an unseen force.
The silence of the woods was broken by a new sound.
A whisper.
Faint at first, barely audible.
Pauses, holding her breath. Was it my imagination, or did I hear something?
Then she heard it again. A whisper, closer this time, slithering through the trees. It seemed to be coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. She couldn't make out any words, just the sound of voices, murmuring just beyond her hearing.
With terror, "Oh no! What's happening?"
Panic welled up inside her. She wanted to turn back, to run, but her feet felt rooted to the spot. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, circling her, taunting her.
Menacingly.
As Sarah stumbled through the darkening woods, her heart pounding in her chest, she noticed something ahead of her, a faint glow flickering in the distance.
With hope. Maybe it's a way out, a sign of civilization.
Hope surged through her. Cautiously, she made her way towards the light. As she drew closer, she saw that it was coming from an old lantern, lying on its side in the middle of the path. It was rusty and dented, and the glass was cracked, but it was still burning brightly, casting eerie shadows on the trees around it.
Reaching out, "Please let this be real."
Sarah reached out and picked up the lantern. The moment her fingers touched the cold metal, the flame flickered and grew stronger, bathing the path in an unsettling pale light.
Whispering, "What is this place?"
With the lantern in hand, Sarah tried to retrace her steps, but the path seemed to twist and turn, leading her further and further astray.
Panic welled up inside me. I was lost, hopelessly lost.
The trees seemed to press in on her, their branches reaching out like grasping claws. The whispers grew louder, more menacing, echoing all around her.
"Help, somebody, please!"
She called out for help, but her voice was swallowed by the dense woods. Despair washed over her. She was trapped, alone in the darkness. As Sarah stumbled through the woods, the lantern casting long, dancing shadows all around her, she heard a sound that chilled her to the bone. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from behind her.
Oh, no, no, no.
Terror lent her speed. She ran, scrambling over roots and rocks, her lungs burning, her heart pounding in her ears. But the footsteps kept coming, relentless, closer.
Please just go away.
She glanced over her shoulder and screamed. Standing just behind her, shrouded in shadow, was a figure. Tall and skeletal, draped in a long dark cloak. Its face was hidden in the shadows of its hood, but Sarah could feel its eyes fixed on her, cold and malevolent. Sarah stumbled backward, tripping over a root. The lantern flew from her grasp, extinguishing in the darkness. Panic surged through her. She was alone in the darkness with whatever that thing was.
I have to get out of here.
She scrambled to her feet and ran, blindly, desperately. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to get away from that creature. She could hear the creature behind her, its footsteps heavy and slow, but getting closer.
No, 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 keep running, just keep running.
And then, just when she thought all hope was lost, she burst through the trees and out of the woods. Sarah didn't stop running until she reached the familiar dirt road leading back to her family's cabin. She collapsed on the ground, gasping for breath, her body trembling uncontrollably.
I made it, I'm safe, right?
As she lay there, catching her breath, she could still feel the presence of the creature in the woods behind her, its cold eyes watching her, its heavy footsteps slowly approaching.
I'll never forget this, never!
She knew with a certainty that chilled her to the bone that she would never forget what she had seen in the woods that day. The eerie silence, the menacing whispers, the terrifying creature. The woods would never be the same for her. They would forever be haunted by the memory of that day.